turning to right now Major League Baseball, and we have our friend back here on the show from MLB Network, Dan Plesac. How are you, Dan?
Rich, it's good to talk to you again. Can you believe we're ready to tee up another season?
I know, it's kind of
like
crazy.
I just talked to you about the World Series. Man, time goes fast.
I know, and I want to talk to you about that. I know you're not a public health official, and you and I are just living life trying to make heads or tails about what's happening in the world. So let's get into, I guess, the outside of the coronavirus world, and in terms of injuries that are happening right now. How serious is what's going on with Verlander in Houston, Dan?
I think it's there's a lot of teams right now. The Yankees look like they're compromised. And anytime, Rich, you get to spring training when there's about 2 weeks left and guys have to miss time and they're worried about beginning the season on time, there's always a caution, in particular with a guy like Verlander that has a lot of mileage on that arm, and a lot of people 3 or 4 years ago thought that this guy, the best baseball was in the rearview mirror, and he's had a resurgence the last 2 or 3 seasons, and it would be a big blow to the Astros, who have enough going on outside of the game of baseball. They've had an off-season for the ages, and that's why, Rich, I think it's going to be a very difficult year for the Houston Astros. And I don't mean this in a joking way, but a lot of times, and I played for 18 years, and we all want to think how cool it would be to play for the Yankees, right? To wear the pinstripes. But there's that bubble that comes with playing with the Yankees. There's no franchise, and the Red Sox may be close. The fans in Philly can be tough, but in the game of baseball, everybody wants to be a Yankee. Well, the Yankees outside of New York, they're hated everywhere that they go, right? You either love the Yankees or they hate the Yankees. And I kind of get the feeling like when I think of the Astros, they're going to get a chance to feel what it's like to wear the pinstripes going into Fenway Park, because every ballpark that the Astros go in 2020, they're the enemy right now. And it's unfortunate because this is a bad analogy, and I've taken some heat for it, but I'll explain it. I thought the 2016 Chicago Cubs, they were a team that was hard not to like them. Anthony Rizzo, Chris Bryant, the list goes on and on. They were a fun team to root for, and there wasn't really any villains. And that's kind of how you and I deal at the national level. We deal with a lot of players on a lot of different teams in a lot of different sports. And this Astros team was a team that they were easy to like. They made it easy for guys like you and I. They were outspoken, and they talked, and they had all the things that you wanted. They had personality. They had home run trots. They had celebrations in the dugout. Everything that baseball wants to be celebrating now. Let the kids play and let's have fun and forget that old way and act like you've done it before. Have fun and laugh. And now all of a sudden, Rich, these guys, they're walking around with a giant target on their back. And I'll tell you what amazed me. I was a guest instructor with the Phillies the first week of spring training before pitchers and catchers reported, and not just in Philadelphia, but guys around the league. I've never seen a group of players more angry at this than the steroid era, and I played in the steroid era.
I bet. Is it any more subsided, do you think? Or it's still
I don't think it is.
Pissed?
You know what? I think maybe there are other stories now that have taken place to where we're not worrying about the garbage can and the banging, but they're going to be up against it, Rich, because there are a lot of just think the first homestand that they go, and if they have a terrible road a homestand and Bregman goes 1 for 12, and the natural inclination is to say, well, now they're not cheating and they're not getting the signs. They're not going to be able to win for losing, and that's why I think they're very vulnerable, and, boy, that makes things for the Oakland A's. This might be the year that the A's win the West.
No kidding. Dan Plesac, MLB Network here on the Rich Eisen Show. I've said over and over again, if I was a pitcher, I would rather face somebody who's hopped up on whatever, fertility drug, gets mixed with a horse tranquilizer and gets shot in their right glute. I'd rather that person with a trapezoid head be standing there than the person who knows what pitch is coming. Now I'm asking an actual former pitcher.
That's a great analogy, and I get where you're going. But as a life of a pitcher,
yes,
you're right. I mean, if I'm a pitcher and you make your living, and and I've heard this, and it's such a lame analogy. Well, the hardest thing to do is hit a round ball with a round bat and hit it square. But to get to that level, we're talking about the most elite of the elite players that get to the big league level. So most of them can hit a fastball, and if you can't hit a breaking ball, you're going to hang around in AAA. And some guys aren't, but they learn to adjust. But if you know what's coming, and particularly in the day and age that baseball is now, high velocity, more bullpens in baseball have guys throwing 95 and above.
Right.
If you don't throw 95 and above, you don't get a look. There are very few Kyle Hendricks in baseball right now, right-handers that throw 88 to 91 that could sink it, cut it, guys that you and I grew up watching that could, it was more of an art. Now it's about overpowering. And in a game where that's where it's played, if you know that you're either looking for 98 or you're looking for something off speed, it makes it a lot easier. I'm not saying that you're going to get a hit every time, but I go back to the one playoff game, and Tom Verducci, our colleague here, and he works for Fox also, the Game 5, I believe, that Kershaw was knocked out of the fifth inning.
Yep.
There was I can't remember the exact number, but over 40 breaking balls he threw in that game.
Swings and misses. Zero.
Not one was swung and missed at.
Zero.
Don't you find that alarming?
Of course, and that's part of this, Dan Plesac here, and that's part of why this is still alive. This cheating scandal is still going to obviously manifest itself on the road when Houston's on the road in places like Oakland, here in Southern California with the Los Angeles Angels, when they do show up in New York in September, by the way. So that's where that'll spark back again. The Dodgers, whoever makes it from the Astros for the All-Star game has got to be here in the home of the Dodgers for the Midsummer Classic. So it's going to crop up throughout the months of the season. And the reason why it's not going to go away is twofold. One is because Jim Crane, the owner of the Astros, was so manifestly awful at trying to address this subject, not once but twice. That's number one. And number two is we still don't know. We still do not know what exactly was utilized by the Astros in that 2017 postseason. We don't know if it was the World Series. We don't know if it was the ALCS. We don't know if it was the ALDS, but we do know the commissioner believes it happened, and we still don't know the exact instance. We can parse it with video on Twitter and social media, but I would love for the commissioner to just come out and say, here's the evidence that we got. This is transparent. This is where we saw it in the postseason. So at least maybe some party that believes they are aggrieved, where Dodger fans want to, hoist a blue asterisk on a flag when the Astros come in for any All-Star festivities. At least we know, we have no evidence this happened in the World Series. At least that would be helpful, right?
And I think what surprised me, talking with players throughout baseball, that I think, Rich, everybody in every sport is looking for that edge, right? And I think every guy, every team, every player knows the difference between right and wrong. And I think what has irritated the other 29 teams, and when you get guys speaking out, I mean, very rarely, Mike Trout, Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, not guys that are over-the-top verbal. You really don't hear much from those guys. I just think, Rich, that the other 29 teams, and this isn't coming from, I initially thought the wave was going to be a bunch of beaten-up pitchers that had their brains beaten out, but it hasn't been. And that's the part that has alarmed me, but I think this is just my estimation of talking to players is all teams were trying to gain an edge, whether you're getting the signs, stealing them from second base, third base, whatever it is. But I think the level that the Astros went to, that's what the players are taking offense of. Like, listen, guys and teams have been trying to get signs from third base coaches and from pitchers and catchers that, expose the signs. They don't cover it up, hold the glove, leave their legs open. First and third base coach can look in and see what's coming. If you're using the same set of signs, that's been part of baseball since Moby Dick was a minnow, right? But I think the level that the Astros took it to in real time is what infuriated a lot of players, and it still does.
Dan, I always love our chats. Appreciate the time. We'll get you back on in a couple of weeks when opening day is upon us, and hopefully we smell the cut grass in the stadiums, Dan. We look forward to that.
You got it, Rich.
You got it.
Anytime. Love talking to you.
Right back at you. At Plesac19. Dan Plesac right here on the Rich Eisen Show. That's how you can follow him on Instagram and Twitter, and, of course, on MLB Network. Studio analyst, one of the best. He's done it for over 10 years now.